Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Maverick Mompreneur podcast, or welcome to the Maverick Mompreneur podcast if you are a new biz bestie. I'm your host, Ashley, and I am so glad you're here either way. I hope you're having a fantastic summer so far. I am actually recording this episode standing in my office today, and I have my mic rigged up in kind of a weird way, so I do wonder if you'll hear a difference in either my energy or the acoustics or anything like that, but I'm liking it so far, except for the fact that I just realized that my window's open, and if any of my neighbors walk by this evening and look over, this is going to look a little weird, but what else is new? Anyway, in this episode, we're going to do a deep dive into a topic that affects so many of us as ambitious, capable women entrepreneurs showing up and building businesses online. And that topic is imposter syndrome. We're going to talk about what imposter syndrome is, how it manifests, what causes it, why it's normal. I'm going to tell you about a whole bunch of super duper successful people who have shared that they have even experienced imposter syndrome, so that you know you're not alone. Spoiler alert, you're not alone if you are experiencing it. And most importantly, how to manage it effectively, because you have to if you want to stay in this online business game as an entrepreneur for the long run and achieve the massive success I know that you want to. So let's get into it. Hey mama, I'm Ashley, and this is the Maverick Mompreneur podcast, where you're free and encouraged to own your desire to create and scale an impactful, discoverable online brand and business in the midst of motherhood. A business that's aligned with your mission, lifestyle desires, personality, and zone of genius, without wasting your time on the hustle and grind hamster wheel that is social media. Can I get an amen? Sis, you are a maverick, an original, willing to stand out in your authenticity, defy expectations, and do life and business outside the box. In our world, if it's not aligned with who we are, it's a hard pass or a brave pivot. So if you're here for the powerful identity shift and transformation from boss babe or boss mom to aligned CEO, building a one-of-a-kind, influential, hustle-free online business that will produce long-term impact and multiple streams of income through SEO, affiliate marketing, and courses, while building yourself in the process, well, pop in those AirPods, grab that cup of coffee or glass of wine, and let's get growing. First, let's define what imposter syndrome is, and then later on, I do want to get into what it is not. So the definition of imposter syndrome is when someone doubts their skills, talents, or accomplishments and has a persistent fear of being exposed as a fraud. Now, despite evidence of their competence, those who experience imposter syndrome stay convinced that they're frauds and do not deserve all that they have achieved. This can occur in any field, but it's particularly common among high achievers. Just out the gate, so that you know I'm preaching to the choir, I have dealt with this several different times, the most recent being in this current business that I have. Last year, when I transitioned from making the majority of my income from selling high-ticket group programs to a relatively warm audience to a low-ticket digital product and membership model and learning how to run ads, all of a sudden I felt like this isn't going to work. Who am I to do this? And it wasn't that I hadn't had success as an online business owner and as a personal brand, but that transition and the lower income months that came with that really made me question everything and question myself and my abilities. And so I really had to work through a lot of this. So I know how you feel if you're in that place right now thinking, oh my gosh, am I a fraud? But what I realized was that what got me to my first level in business, so what I did from 2016 up to 2022 basically, wasn't what's going to get me to my next level to scale, but what will get me there that I still absolutely have is my work ethic, all of the things that I bring as an online business coach and as a businesswoman, and most importantly, my passion for helping women to have options by making money online in an authentic way. And yep, there's my first neighbors walking by looking. I'm going to close the blind. All right, so how does imposter syndrome manifest? Let's see if you have imposter syndrome. I'm basically going to be like the WebMD for entrepreneur mindset issues over here for just a second, and I'm going to refer to these manifestations of imposter syndrome as symptoms. I want you to self-diagnose, do you have imposter syndrome, based on the following common symptoms. Ready? Let's go. Self-doubt. So constantly questioning your abilities, your qualifications, etc. Attributing success to external factors, believing that your achievements are due to luck or timing or other factors that are outside of your control. Fear of failure, a pervasive fear that you'll be exposed as a fraud if you make a mistake. Overachieving, setting impossibly high standards and working excessively hard to prove your worth. Discounting praise, ignoring positive feedback and focusing on negative criticism, even if that negative criticism is coming from your own head. But definitely, as we all know online, it's part and parcel with negative criticism. So focusing on that rather than taking in and internalizing positive feedback. Not believing in yourself enough to get started or keep going. This is a major symptom that I see in my clients and the women that I encounter online and chat with. It's a lack of belief in their own abilities, which can prevent them from even starting a project or from maintaining momentum on existing ones. Very, very, very capable women who are smart, intelligent, ambitious. They've had success in all of these different realms. All of a sudden, all of that seems to go out the window when they're starting something new or they're starting their business. And that's why if it were easy to get through all of this stuff in the mind, let alone the technical skill set aspects, everyone would be building a business. But it's not for the faint of heart. This stuff is hard. So let's talk about what causes imposter syndrome. And I did a little research on this because I really want to understand the root causes so that I can help all of us address this and then manage it most effectively. So I hope this is helping you to understand, if you have imposter syndrome or if you've experienced it, what it is, how it actually manifests when it comes to your internal thought life, and also how it manifests in your business and actions or lack thereof. And now let's talk about what are some of the common causes of imposter syndrome. And I found this really fascinating as I was doing my research. So one common cause is family environment. So if you grew up in a family where your parents or other family members really emphasized achievement, or they were overly critical, that can lead to feelings of inadequacy and self-doubt, even into adulthood, even when you have achieved. Another common cause is social pressures. So being part of a group where approval is linked to achievement can make you feel like you constantly have to prove yourself. So if you're part of a team, part of a company, part of a church, whatever it might be, and that leads me into sense of belonging, and not just sense of belonging, but a fear of being found out and shunned or cast out from a group or a community can really exacerbate imposter syndrome, especially if you feel like an outsider. So a little bit of vulnerability here. I know I definitely felt imposter syndrome in different circles throughout my faith journey as a Christian. I always felt like a little bit of an outsider, like I didn't quite fit in unless I presented myself this certain way. And I've since come to find out that what is required of me is to be my authentic self, who God has created me to be fully. And so anyway, that sense of belonging or feeling like you're going to be cast out or found out if people in a group or community see you, truly see you. Another cause is just certain personality types are more likely to internalize feelings of pressure and doubt. So perfectionists, high achievers, those types of people, again, preaching to the choir, are particularly prone to imposter syndrome. So if you're a high achiever and you're a perfectionist, you may have experienced imposter syndrome. In fact, it's very likely. And then one more, there's other causes, but one more that I think is really important and that I know that a lot of us have experienced is in times of stress or transition, like starting a new job, launching a new course, entering a new phase of life. All of those can exacerbate imposter syndrome. There's a difference between tackling a steep learning curve and asking good questions when you don't know the answers, say if you're in a new role or you're learning how to do a totally different skill set, versus pretending that you know things that you don't to look more competent. And that leads me to probably the most soapboxy part of this podcast, but it's something I really, really want to talk about. And that's when it's actually appropriate to have imposter syndrome. So I am not going to be that coach that's going to say, fake it until you make it. There are times when experiencing imposter syndrome might be a sign that you're out of integrity with the results and the transformation that you're selling. For example, I was chatting with someone the other day who felt like she couldn't sell an MRR. If you know what MRR is, it's the trending master resale rights digital marketing. I'm doing that in air quotes because digital marketing has literally been around forever. I've been doing it since 2016, and now all of a sudden it's trending, which is just interesting from my point of view. But anyway, she felt like she couldn't sell this MRR course that she had purchased because she hadn't created results with it. And the way that the marketing is taught is basically to share that you've created results that you haven't yet, but that you want to. And in my opinion, that would be correct. When you are feeling like you're faking a result that you haven't ever created, that is being an imposter versus imposter syndrome. And unfortunately, that's being taught, which is skewing expectations for what it actually takes to build a long-term sustainable brand and online business. Can you tell I get passionate about this? If you haven't put in the necessary work or are exaggerating your expertise, those feelings of being an imposter could be a signal from your conscience to reassess and realign your actions with your values and market from that place. I always feel like the best way to go is to under promise and over deliver and lead with your authentic self and only the results you have created and the transformations you have experienced. You should not be teaching something that you haven't created yourself. You should not be promoting the possibility of a transformation that you haven't had yourself, because multiplied by hundreds of thousands, that is where things get a scammy name. Online business and being successful for the long term, not a short term cash grab, is not easy. It takes a lot of work, a lot of skill building, a lot of perseverance, a lot of mindset work. It's not for everyone, but by marketing that it is for everyone is going to cause so many problems. I could just go on and on and on and on about this. I'm not knocking any way of making money online if that's what someone needs to do, but I want women to look at MRR as a launch pad for something else, being their own business, their own brand, their own products, and moving away from that as quickly as possible, because I feel like, number one, it's perpetuating false expectations and also holding you back from building something that's long-term and sustainable. So in conclusion on that portion, if you have to fake it to make it, then you are being an imposter. Sorry, not sorry, period, end of story. Okay, so another thing that's really important for me is to normalize that imposter syndrome is something that nearly everyone experiences at some point. Unless you are a total narcissist, and maybe even they do too, you're probably going to experience a little bit of imposter syndrome, and what you need to do is tackle it. And we're going to talk about how to manage it. I am going to give you some really solid strategies, but I want you and I need you to know that even highly successful individuals, the biggest influencers, the biggest online business coaches, top athletes, actresses, authors, so many people report feeling like imposters, but they continue on. And that's how they have success. That's how they have the results that they have despite these feelings. Feelings aren't always reality. So I found so many different notable examples of people who have publicly shared struggles with imposter syndrome. I literally am looking at the amount of quotes that I wrote down, and I feel like I'm not going to share all of these with you. Maybe I'll share some of them on Instagram in my content there promoting this episode. That's what I'm going to do. So if you're not following me on Instagram, go follow me at Ashley R. Latimer, and I'm going to share a bunch more of these and more on imposter syndrome in a short form. Yes, I am doing short form content these days. I'm actually learning to love it. So come hang out with me over there. I'm having some fun and teaching and sharing and encouraging in a short form content. If you love long form, of course, here I am yapping away on the podcast at least once a week, if not twice. Okay, so back to really famous, powerful, successful people that also experience imposter syndrome. So let's start with Sheryl Sandberg. So I believe she's still the chief operating officer of Facebook. She wrote the book Lean In. She has a ton of success. She's super high ranking, but even good old Sheryl has admitted to feeling like an imposter, particularly early in her career. And she speaks a lot about the importance of overcoming these feelings to achieve professional and personal growth. quote that I found from her is, "There are still days when I wake up feeling like a fraud, not sure I should be where I am." But does she let that stop her from continuing to grow personally and professionally? No, she does not, and neither should you. Maya Angelou. I think we all know who Maya Angelou is. She is a celebrated author. She's a poet. She has experienced imposter syndrome even after writing multiple bestsellers and being on some of the biggest stages in the world. She famously said, "I have written 11 books, but each time I think, uh-oh, they're going to find out now. I've run a game on everybody and they're going to find me out." Did that stop her from writing the next book and making the next speech and reading her poems on stage? Nope, it did not. She kept going, and so should you. Okay, let's do one, maybe two more. Howard Schultz. He is the former CEO of Starbucks, obviously a success in business. He has confessed to feeling imposter syndrome even after building that ginormous global coffee empire. He's discussed how these feelings of self-doubt have been a part of his journey, motivating him to work harder and strive for excellence. Here's what he says. "Very few people, whether you've been in that job before or not, get into the seat and believe today that they are now qualified to be the CEO. They have to go through the process of proving to themselves and everyone else that they're capable of doing the job." And I'm going to get more to this in the section of how we manage imposter syndrome, but I think that this speaks to one of the points that I really want to make, and that is that if you are starting something new, you bring a lot with you. Even if you're starting small, starting new, you are still the person you are. You have the experiences behind you that you have the brain that you have the drive that you have the leadership skills. All of these things, a lot of them can transfer, but what I'm sure Howard Schultz did not do was prove that he was capable of doing the job by words and fronting. It was by actions and by doing. And so let's get more into that later, but I just want to kind of get you thinking a little bit there. Okay, I had to choose between several actresses and actors that I found quotes from. Let's go with Tina Fey. 30 Rock, anyone? I freaking loved that show. Loved that show, but loved it when it was on. She's a comedian, she's an actress, she's a writer, and she has spoken about her experiences with imposter syndrome. She said, "The beauty of the imposter syndrome is you vacillate between extreme egomania and a complete feeling of, I'm a fraud. Oh God, they're on to me. I'm a fraud." I hope that these examples show that imposter syndrome really can affect anyone, regardless of their level of success or achievement. The key takeaway is that these feelings are common, they are normal, and they can be managed through, number one, self-awareness, and also support from others. You're not in this alone. So what happens if we don't manage imposter syndrome, which at this point, I'm sure you're thinking, well, it's inevitable that I'm going to experience imposter syndrome if I haven't already, and you would be right if you're thinking that. If it isn't managed, it can really have negative impacts. If you listen to about 5 episodes ago, I did an episode on don't let the start stop you, because it does stop so many. And I have this feeling that a lot of that is from imposter syndrome, not feeling worthy or capable, despite evidence to the contrary, to get started or keep your momentum going. And that's where a lot of those like start and stops or never starts come from when it comes to building online businesses. Imposter syndrome can prevent you from using your gifts that you've been given, sharing your talents, and contributing meaningfully to your industry, to your audience. You might avoid taking on new opportunities. You might diminish your achievements that you actually earned. And ultimately, you're going to hinder your growth and your success. Period. End of story. So now let's talk about some effective ways to manage imposter syndrome. I'm going to start with number one because this is the one that I do all the time with myself. Self-talk, self-coaching. So challenging those negative thoughts that come up and replacing them with positive affirmations, really treating yourself like you would a client, like you would a best friend. Would you just crap all over their dreams and things that they want to do? Absolutely not. So for example, instead of thinking, I don't deserve this success that I have, or I don't deserve to create the success that I know that I can through hard work, remind yourself, I've worked hard and I earned this achievement and I can earn more. I find it helpful to journal through these things and or write things down on post-its, things that flip the script on that negative self-talk and things that you would never say to a friend. Don't say it to yourself, okay? So changing negative thoughts and replacing them with positive affirmations based on reality. reality. The second way to manage imposter syndrome, and this is going back to my what imposter syndrome actually is not when people are faking it to make it. One way to manage it is to stay in your lane. So focus on your unique journey and your path. If you start looking left and right and comparing yourself to others, it can exacerbate those feelings that you have of feeling inadequate. For example, if you see someone else in your niche achieving something awesome, celebrate their success, but also remind yourself of your own progress and your own goals. You can say to yourself, again, going back to self-talk, I'm so proud of my own achievements and I'm on my own path. One thing that we do monthly in the Maverick Society membership is a Celebrate the Journey mocktail cocktail happy hour. Each of us have the opportunity to share something that is a win for us. And I think it's really important to share wins along the way and also to celebrate other women entrepreneurs in their wins and to genuinely feel excited about that and see what all is possible while staying in your lane and remembering that it's your unique journey to be celebrated. Related to that, stay true to yourself. So keeping your actions aligned with your values and your authentic self is going to go a long way in getting rid of imposter syndrome. Integrity really does build confidence. For example, if you value honesty, ensure that your content and your interactions and everything you post and say and do reflects that. And when you stay true to your values, you feel more confident, you feel more congruent, and less like an imposter. So again, if you feel like part of being an imposter is in the way that you're marketing, that can easily change and you can feel so much better. Okay, the fourth way to manage imposter syndrome, take that positive feedback. So embrace positive feedback that you get from your community, that you get from your audience. If you're in a membership like Maverick Society, the feedback you get there, let support and validation sink in. If someone praises your work, instead of brushing it off or deferring or saying, oh, it's all you, try saying, thank you. I really appreciate your words and your support. Acknowledge and then internalize the praise. Save those words. If it's written, save them and reread them for days when you feel like an imposter. I have an album on my phone from a time when I was dealing with imposter syndrome and some other mindset stuff, and it's an album in my iPhone called I Don't Suck, and it was just testimonials, feedback, things that followers had DM'd me about ways that I had impacted them, whether it was, monetary or not, and I would go back to that when I would have these moments and read through I Don't Suck screenshots. So maybe you need an I Don't Suck album. I don't know. And then the fifth way to manage imposter syndrome is to strive for excellence. So if you start to feel impostery, this is my go-to move. Strive to get better. Aim to improve and grow. Not to achieve perfection, because perfection doesn't exist. And if you shoot for perfection, you're always going to feel like a fraud because no one is perfect. But excellence, on the other hand, is about continuous improvement. Striving for excellence involves setting realistic goals and then celebrating small victories. I just had to go grab a Post-it because I wanted to see what I wrote. So practicing what I preach. On the side of my computer, I'm scaling my business right now through a funnel. And if you've never run ads and you've never created a funnel of this type, it can get really kind of scary because I'm not where I want to be and where I will be given time and testing and learning and growing and all those things. I'm not going to be crushing it at $300,000 a month in ads out the gate. No. But it's really important to set realistic goals and celebrate small victories. So again, I've just been working on refining each and every piece and doing the very best high quality product, high quality ad, high quality graphics, all those things, focusing on high quality and then celebrating little wins. So anyway, this Post-it, I put wins. I've actually made sales. 20 to 30% is ideal for conversion on an order bump. I have a 32% conversion. So I'm not where I want to be as far as profitability on those ads, but things are working. And so even though sometimes it's tempting to say, oh my gosh, who am I to be running ads? No. Now, if I taught an ads course right now, that would be being an imposter. But what's not being an imposter is sharing the journey along the way and the wins and the lessons and all of those things that are involved in scaling a business through ads. And so I'll continue to do more of that here. I definitely do that within the Maverick Society. They know my whole journey as far as mindset and turning all my ads off in October of last year because I had some mindset freakouts and building back in this new way, striving for excellence, not perfection, all of these things. Anyway, I'm going to wrap that part up because I get all excited about business stuff. Nerd alert. So remember, as we close up, imposter syndrome is super common. In fact, it'd be kind of narcissistic if you never experienced imposter syndrome and you just felt like you're the bomb.com at all times. But it doesn't have to control your life. It doesn't have to control the actions you take in your business. And I hope that by using some of these strategies, even if it's just one of them, that you can manage those feelings and continue to, despite, create, contribute, and thrive in whatever your niche is as you're building your online business. And if you want ongoing support and reminders that you are talented, you are worthy of the success you desire, I really want you to consider joining my coaching membership, the Maverick Society. In our community, you will absolutely receive the encouragement, the resources, and the accountability to keep moving forward constantly. We address the holistic entrepreneur. You're going to have opportunity to access all of my online business and branding courses, but also to ask me questions along the way while you're completing the courses and implementing them, not just buying another course. That's probably not what you need. So if you're interested in more information, check out elevatedwithashley.com/membership or hit the link in the show notes to learn more about the Maverick Society and how it can help you build a successful, long-term, profitable, and fulfilling brand and online business while being surrounded with other female entrepreneurs who get it when it comes to the journey. So thank you so much for tuning in to the Maverick Mompreneur podcast. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with someone who might benefit from it. Tag me if you share it in your stories. Take a little screenshot, tag me. I would love to reshare, and leave us a review. It really helps a ton, more than you know, when you leave reviews, and I super appreciate it. Until next time, keep striving for excellence, being the amazing entrepreneur you are, and as always, cheers to your impact. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got a ton of value, and if you did, I would really appreciate if you would rate, subscribe, and review this podcast. It really helps push out the message that I have to share with other female entrepreneurs. Thank you so much.